Geopolitical reconfiguration of Romania's vicinity encompasses a range of significant factors, each of which exerts an influence on the country's security, economy, and regional influence. The Black Sea is a focal point of major powers' interest, including NATO, Russia, Turkey, and the European Union. Changes in naval power dynamics in the region have a direct impact on Romania. Although the alliance's ability to operate in the Black Sea is limited by the Montreux Conventions, NATO has helped to stabilize the area by increasing its military presence in the region and expanding cooperation with international partners. As a result of its unique geography and facilities that allows easy access from the sea to the Danube River, as well as its capabilities to ensure monitoring and issue warnings regarding hazards, Romania plays a crucial role in securing maritime and river shipping routes in this region. The Russian aggression against Ukraine created a variety of risks for the safety of navigation. The most problematic is the risk for commercial vessels of hitting drifting naval mines. As of today, 107 drifting mines were discovered and destroyed in the northwest part of the Black Sea. In order to reduce this risk, Romanian Navy put in place a series of measurements and actions, and I would like to underline some of them. Patrolling every day with ships and helos in area of responsibility. That means every day we have 11 ships and 3 helos involved in these MCM missions under the national flag. Cooperate with the Coast Guard. They have another 4 ships and sometimes the Eurocopter involved in this important mission. Cooperate with NATO partners, they are supporting us in the last 2 years with 3 MPAs, one from the 6th Fleet, another one from the segment that means the command of the fleet from the METSI, the French Navy, and the third from Turkish Naval Forces. Establish recommended routes for the maritime traffic. That means we already established, after started the war, some recommended routes in our area of responsibility. And this kind of recommended routes, that means we are patrolling every day with our forces, and in these routes is recommended to transit the area with the commercial vessels. Keep group meeting with civilian authorities and economic operators, including fisheries entities, in order to develop the understanding of the danger. It's not possible to cut, it's not possible to eliminate the risk, but through this kind of measurements, we can reduce the risk. We are trying to develop the understanding for the economic operators and for this kind of entities, for the civilian authorities, in order to respect the rules, because we are in the proximity of the war zone, and from this point of view, it's so important sometimes in order to find the best instruments, the best tools, in order to understand the war, to reduce the fog of this war. Exercises, exchanging information and coordinating security efforts. Speaking about the best example is the oil rigs. We practice, we train them in order to develop the measurements in order to protect our oil rigs from our economic exclusive zone. The Russian unmanned surface vehicles in this conflict represents already a concern when analyzing the safety of navigation, both for military and civilian vessels. GPS spoofing and jamming in the Black Sea is being conducted nearly constantly. This can significantly impact the safety of situational awareness systems that use IS data would not be able to function efficiently, properly. The drone attacks on the river, on the Ukrainian ports, Ren and Ismail, produce effect in Romania as well. Do you know very well about the sensitivity of the Romanian citizen in Danube area of responsibility? The missile attacks on the Ukraine ports Odessa and Chernomorsk, or the commercial vessels during traffic separation scheme, is another important issue. Since the beginning of the war, in the Black Sea were lost, sunk, damaged almost 39 ships. And another important number of vessels was affected. That means, from our perspective, for the long term, could be a very important issue, speaking about the pollution in the Black Sea. Every day there are more than 300 commercial vessels, merchant vessels in the Romanian area of responsibility. That means it's a big number of ships. After the Second World War is the first time when the Romania have this kind of big number of commercial vessels transited our area from north to south and from south to north. Every day we have this kind of challenges in order to keep in a very good shape the freedom of navigation. After cancelled the grain corridor agreement between Turkey, Russia, Ukraine under the United Nations flag, more than 5,400 ships transited our area of responsibility. That means we are keeping in a very good condition this kind of freedom of navigation. In this context, Romanian Navy is engaged in close cooperation with international partners with the objective of ensuring the security of the Black Sea. This includes participating in multinational exercise in the Black Sea, but in the same time in the Med Sea and the Baltic Sea. Operation Irini, Sea Guardian, with our frigates under the European Union flag or under the NATO flag, it's a very good example. Right now, we have one ship, Mailer Bălescu. We assume the command of SNMCMG2. That means we have the flagship and the command of the group. The Standing Naval Forces Group is one of the most important battle group in the world for 6 months. It's a very big challenge for the Romanian Navy and for the Romanian Armed Forces in order to accomplish this important mission for the all second semester of 2024. Sea Breeze, second phase. MCM Black Sea could be a very good example for the future. The trilateral initiative between Bulgaria, Romania and Turkey is a proof of the political will of the countries in the region to get involved in ensuring maritime security against the threat of drifting mines in the Black Sea. In November will be the third activation for the task group that have a 6-month rotational command with a format open for the NATO and the allied partners' contribution. As I mentioned before, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the threat to shipping routes in the Black Sea region has increased significantly. From this perspective, it is important to find the best solutions to keep the balance in this very complex region. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope I keep in the time. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Mihai. 45,000 square kilometers of area of responsibility. Yeah, that's a big challenge for the Romanian Navy. And also the pollutions and all the other stuff, which are considerable challenges in the Black Sea. I will not open right now the Q&A session. I will let also the other panelists to express their points of view, and at the end we will open the floor for the audience for the Q&A. So next in the row, I would like to invite Kaush Arha to speak on how the importance of the Black Sea, the strategic importance of the Black Sea is seen from the Washington, and why is it important to have a free and open Black Sea from the US point of view? Kaush, you have the floor.
From the United States perspective, there is no peaceful solution or even a sustainable solution for Ukraine without having a free and open Black Sea. Any amount of a frozen conflict in Ukraine or in Black Sea, either way, is I think just be a perpetuating, consistent ulcer, which will cause constant trouble on the NATO front, especially Romania and Bulgaria. So, from the US perspective, I just think a important resolution of Ukraine and a free and open Black Sea are inextricably linked. I think detaching them is impossible. To some degree, that's why it's a very important point, irrespective of how the elections go, whatever the obvious solution may be in the end. It has to end up and it has to include a free and open Black Sea. Not only for Ukraine's future, but most importantly for the security of the NATO nations, which is Romania and Bulgaria. Of course, we know why it's important there. If you don't do it, then you can see a scenario where there will be constant mischief by Russia coming out of Crimea. And then if you let that take a stronger hold, then you've got a situation even for Turkey with a very resurgent Russia on the north and also in Syria in the south. So it's complicated in many different ways. Plus you've got the sort of somewhat concerning development in Georgia. And if the ports and other stuff allow it to have sort of Chinese footholds, then it becomes very quickly a problem that continues to grow and becomes at some point that needs to be managed and handled with. So it's very important that we address it up front. So that's a short answer for a long and complicated topic. The question again is, how does this differ in sort of different administrations and under election? I think certainly if there was President Harris, then he will have a continuity of sort of the Biden program. I don't know how whether it be more ambitious or less ambitious, but certainly would like to sort of hold fort with it. If it's a Trump administration, I think there is certainly a little bit more unpredictability to it, but the notion of a free and open Black Sea would more likely than not play a very important role in it. And I think any amount of engagement with Russia or any other partner that matter, a very important element would be free and open Black Sea, not only for all the reasons I answered before. So I think that's an important element. I think to that end, one more thing, if I may say it, is that it is essential that the folks around the littoral states, I think Romania has shown great leadership in it, I think Bulgaria, Moldova, Ukraine for sure, and to the degree that perhaps even Georgia or Azerbaijan or Turkey may be amenable to the situation, is that a free and open Black Sea is good for everybody. And that is the modern concept of how we would link the free and open spaces around the world, especially free and open Indo-Pacific, free and open Indo-Mediterranean, and then free and open Black Sea. Certainly Baltic is that way, and Atlantic has always been that way. So I think this linking of these issues is very, very critical. And if it comes from ground up, from the region, then is that much more powerful than if it came from Washington, D.C. And one of the things important to note, a lot of people say that, America always pushes its idea on folks. If you look at some of the important notion, free and open Indo-Pacific is an idea by Prime Minister Abe that we adopted and followed. I think presently de-risking or other issues that European Commission President van der Leyen has talked about, that's also something that America has sort of bought into it and working on it. So I think the notion of having a local free and open idea would have a very, very strong echo and resonance within Washington, D.C., irrespective of the administration. I mean, Biden administration already has a Black Sea strategy. It'll continue. I think the Trump administration, in all likelihood, will make it even stronger and bolder as we go forward. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but thanks for the opportunity to have a small comment.
Okay, thank you very much, Krawush. Unfortunately, he could not stay with us for the Q&A session due to the fact that he has quite a lot of other commitments. So we are really grateful for his time, for being with us tonight so far. So as I mentioned at the beginning, one of the most important roles of Black Sea is connectivity. It's connectivity from the northwest to southeast of Europe, from east to west, west to east, from Asia to Europe, and so on. So I would like to invite Antonia to speak now more on connectivity, on Middle Corridor, on Three Seas Initiative, and also the global impact on food security. Antonia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation, and I will begin by saying that each of those topics merit at least one article and maybe a report individually. So it is a big task for me to summarize the topics into a panel speech, but I will do my best in building on what Kaush said. The idea of a free and open Black Sea actually goes with the idea of a working middle corridor and the working logistical network that ties the three seas that are in the plan of the Three Seas Initiative, that is the Baltic Sea, the Black Sea, and the Adriatic. Now, the three have the components of conflict which are on different levels. Let me explain what I mean by that. In the Black Sea, we have two conflicts interconnected because we are close to the Red Sea, and we feel the pressure of what is going on in the Red Sea, as you have highlighted earlier in your introductory speech. We also feel the pressure of what is going on in South China Sea because of the presence of the Middle Corridor push inside towards Europe. So while we do have rail freight becoming more and more used as the solution for the Chinese, and not only Chinese merchandise, into Europe, we also have the challenge of making these countries on the Middle Corridor work together in coordination and developing the infrastructure so that we do have that logistical network on the Middle Corridor itself, so connectivity. And that is one challenge and one opportunity at the same time. The other element is connecting the challenge and the opportunity of the Middle Corridor with the challenge and the opportunity of the Three Seas Initiative. So from the two, we basically get to the conclusion that the Black Sea is a natural node, which is exactly why we need to develop and we need to sustain the idea of a free and open Black Sea if we want to come to a resolution of a peaceful borderline and a peaceful hub that allows for international trade and investment. Now, I will also go with the other topic that I see in your question, which is international supply chains, food supply chains, but not only food supply chains. So I will begin by saying that considering the pre-pandemic environment, had already shown us the problems of globalization. And with the pandemic accelerating those problems, we have seen multinational companies de-risking or reshoring, depending on what kind of language we use, in the sense of coming closer to home. For Europe in particular, we also have to fight or build. Again, challenge versus opportunity. A case of reindustrialization. And that is needed not only for building economic growth, but also for building defense capabilities that we very much need, considering the challenges that we have at our border. So with that, we are at a point where I was looking into statistics, because this is what you do when you do analysis, among other things. It is a clear trend of growth, not only of cross-border foreign direct investments in Europe, which means that the rebuild, the reindustrialization is pretty much sustained also by state incentives, but also there is an increase in the foreign direct investment in the so-called global free zones or special economic zones, of which the Black Sea has many, both on the EU side, NATO side, but also non-EU side, which means the South Caucasus and Turkey. So now we have the opportunity, and if we were in the peacetime, we would have the opportunity of growing the importance of the Black Sea by sustaining and supporting the free and open Black Sea and building up these zones into building competitive areas for businesses coming here in a normal setup. And with the current setup, which is not necessarily normal, considering the intensification of Russian attacks on Ukrainian ports lately, we have the security challenge to go with the opportunity of growing these zones into competitive points. So, bottom line, what we currently see is a push of both security concerns and economic concerns, because while the security concerns are growing and we are coming into formats to sustain that particular goal of having the Black Sea working for us, we are also seeing private actors, companies, coming at the foreplay and saying, we do need you to support our de-risking and reshoring, which may be an opportunity for us to work together with those companies and try to go beyond the elements of, let's say, current security constraints, and building that coordination between littoral states that Kaush was pointing out, because indeed, whatever we are going to do with engaging Russia, because eventually the West will need to talk to Russia, will have to deal with the opportunities that lies into our ports and into our infrastructure. Now, engaging Russia is not enough. And in between the lines, you've also asked about China. We do need to engage China because we do have China way more active in the Black Sea and Georgia, but not only, the trade and investment between Turkey and China is also growing. So we have an increased interest from the Chinese side with regards to the infrastructure in the Black Sea, and that is because the Middle Corridor becomes a more and more important route, considering that other routes around the globe are very much busy with their own security challenges. Now, there is an important element. The Middle Corridor is regional, is Eurasian, is mostly land-based, which means that the free and open Black Sea is the only node that can connect it to the oceans. So with that, again, highlighting an opportunity. Now, that opportunity lies into our ability to secure the borders. And the borders of the Black Sea are currently very much challenged and very much fluid. So I'm not necessarily ending on an optimistic note, but I do see that you were checking me out, so that means that I only have a few seconds left. Thank you, and I will welcome your comments and questions later on.
Thank you very much, Antonia. Quite a lot of good points you have. Really like that one with the connecting challenges and opportunities, security and economical concern who are practically having a common ground, and also the need to engage China. And I was ready to address the question, how do you see the China's involvement into the Black Sea? But more or less you tackled the question anyway. Thank you very much appreciate. I would like to invite now Wilfried from Germany to tell us something about the importance of the Black Sea and the role of the Danube from the German perspective. Wilfried, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Theo. I hope you can understand me well. Yeah, okay. As I told you, I will begin with the problem of security in the form of hybrid threats. And I would like again to remind you that the restoration of law, of international sea law, and best practices is imperative for European Union to restore in order to have free navigation. That is actually true for the northern Black Sea region and for the little states Ukraine, Bulgaria, and Romania. We should take into account that hybrid attacks and hybrid wars by Russia are very likely to happen again, even if we will see a ceasefire after the war or any green, let me say, green agreement that the military confrontation will calm down. That means two things. At first, I think it means we have, and Kausha already pointed to that, we need to have instruments protecting the freedom of navigation and maritime trade routes permanently in the affected region. However, given to the limitations of the Montreux Convention, NATO cannot keep, of course, as it tried since 2014, a protection role during the entire calendar year. Securing freedom of navigation would require a format of ongoing presence of ships of partners of the littoral states, which is maybe not directly based on NATO, but maybe facilitated by European Union. Let me say the idea of a rotation fleet of maritime small and middle-sized navies, and can be coordinated with Turkey. As we know, Turkey will not allow a bigger presence of NATO permanently in the Black Sea, and we need to resolve the problem how we can, beyond what we have now with a very good demining mission. You already mentioned it, and Mr. Admiral also mentioned it. I think that's a very good thing. We should develop a format which is feasible for all non-Russian littoral states in order to have protection of the routes from, let me say, the Odessa, Romanian, Bulgarian region to the Bosphorus the whole calendar year. Second point, we need to be, or we should already now fully equip Ukraine, or we should start to fully equip Ukraine with a full-fledged coastal defense, because we cannot wait with that when the war ends. Ukraine, in order to address a hybrid war, which is likely to be continued after any ceasefire, Ukraine and the European partners have to address such hybrid attacks. And that means also we have better to define how best practices can be implemented when it comes to exercises, when it comes to different reasons and opportunities for closing trade routes. I mean, we had a war of exercises made by Russia. We had a war of closing full-fledged trade routes, which, by the way, can also go through the coastal to the coastal territories. You know that Crimea was already fully isolated before the war. And we need to be prepared for resolutions of the restoration of the sovereignties in limited sovereign waters like the exclusive economic zone, as well as in the coastal waters of Ukraine, but also Bulgaria and Romania. They should also be protected from these hybrid threats. And please, I would like to remind you only in one word here, we have a big challenge with the Azov Sea. So even if Ukraine will make progress on the ground, we should be prepared how to restore on the level also of international organizations a normal and normally, and let me say, functionally working legal order in the Azov region, which was already destructed before the war has started. And then my second point, I very agree with many things which have been said by Antonia. Thank you for that. However, I would like to argue that even under optimistic projections, the middle corridor will not compensate fully, for example, even the northern passage, which is mainly going through Russian Federation. That is due to very difficult and different barriers on the way. It is also due to problems with natural barriers in the Caspian Sea. So even if we very much invest, and we should do it, we should actually focus on very concrete projects which are stabilizing the connectivity of partners like Armenia, Azerbaijan, and actually Georgia. And here I come to another point when it comes to Georgia. I would like to remind you that European Union made European Union confirmed the readiness to finance the second phase of the Anaklia deep sea port in 2019. As we saw, Anaklia deep sea port, led by a Western-orientated consortium, was not implemented. Instead of that, after problems of bad governance in Georgia, the Georgian Dream Coalition renewed the project recently, and the tender was won by a Chinese company. And what we see is a tendency that China is occupying very important infrastructures, critical infrastructure in Georgia, and the Europeans are fully silent with that. And I think that is a big problem. What we also should see, we should make a screening. What is the critical infrastructure in the wider Black Sea region, which is crucial for the European Union, and where European Union and the leading partners and economic powerful partners could make proposals to get more engaged. The problem in Georgia was that many years European partners were simply invisible, and the intrigues of the oligarchic regime could arrange the pushing out of Western investments in that critical infrastructure, which is simply playing in the hand with China. So on the one hand, yes, we need to see and we need to think about how to engage with China, but we also should think about how to de-risk from China in order to really make use for free navigation and equal competition in the whole Black Sea region. Having said that on the middle corridor, I would even like to accentuate when it comes to the next projects more on the Danube corridor and the Black Sea Baltic axis of trade routes. What I have in mind, it is 3 points. The first point is that we already see that the Baltic nations like Latvia, Lithuania, and also the Scandinavians try to modernize and expand the capacities of ports and railway routes coming from the north going to the south. So these states are very interested in open for themselves alternatives connectivities after all or everything on the eastern flank, Russia, Belarus, has got more or less closed. So what we see now also is that the European Union and European investment banks begin to connect Ukraine with connectivity points in Volhynia and Western Ukraine to the European traffic and transport systems. What is lacking here is a wider vision because these connectivity points go, for example, on the base of railways, go more or less 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers into the country of Ukraine, but not further. So what is lacking actually for the Ukrainian industry in Western and Central Ukraine is how to better connect to the connectivity of the West, Germany, Poland, of the Northwest, and all these things. And therefore, I think we should take these single projects on the way to the Black Sea through Romania and Moldova, which are already on the track. So that is not mismaking or illusion making. That is something very concrete. We need feasibility studies and studies who are by interviews with the key actors on the way from the north to the south, try to sort out how these routes can be built up in order to bring more economy actually also into East Central Europe, because we see that even Slovakia, Ukrainian, they are still have a very Soviet and centralized transport system and have to be opened much more to the west and to the south. And here it comes also to the Danube corridor, because if you, for example, include on the way from Western Ukraine through Romania, through Chisinau to Black Sea, in a side link, the Vinica region, which is an important traffic hub for Ukraine, you can also join the central Ukraine. And what I again want to underline, studies and activities, even on the diplomatic level, even between the Baltic states, Poland and Ukraine, are already on the way. And we should push here for more strategic direction, for more coherence to come to terms with the problems. But what I can say to you is there is a big interest in industries like the Katowice region, like the metal industry in Ukraine, to get, on the one hand, an outreach to the south through the Black Sea, which is more safe, and on the other hand, also to the Baltic Sea, to open themselves the market in the transatlantic region. And the last point. When we speak about reconstruction of Ukraine, we speak about heavy investments of billions of dollars and euros in Ukraine. And we have here on the agenda very heavy investments in massive house buildings, industrial buildings. So what we need in a large scale is to transport engineer capacities, components to the southern and southeastern Ukraine in order to stabilize, also to rebuild, for example, the ports, in order to modernize the Dnipro water gate, which is very important because many locks and systems of the Dnipro are exhausted since Soviet times. And if we really want to stabilize port and river infrastructure of Ukraine, and Ukraine is here the bridge building for everything, what is going through from the north to the south. We need, of course, a more or less feasible transport route, and that can all not be made only by trucks or by land transport. You need ship transport to bring, for example, the building and engineer components from the river rain industries in Germany, from the heavy industries in Germany and France. I think you need the Danube River to rebuild and reconstruct the southern Black Sea Ukraine and maybe also other regions in the Danube corridor of Romania and Chisinau. And together, for example, and I think George will also come back to that, together with the prospects of the exploitation of new gas fields in Bulgaria, but actually Romania, we could link such a bigger transport project, Baltic, Danube, Black Sea region, with technical support, for example, for Romania to establish their infrastructure to benefit from their reserves in their exclusive economic zone. Theo, excuse me for being maybe too long. Thank you much for your attention.
Wilfried, your inputs, very important. You tackled a lot of issues in your remarks here. You even challenged the audience a bit. I think we will see that in the Q&A. I also have something to add here, and specifically when you mention about the presence of the regional littoral states into the Black Sea, there is a long debate on the capabilities. Are we able to build capabilities to counter the Russian one and so on? But what you mentioned close to your remarks, close to the end of your remarks, was really important to invest more in strategic cohesion into the Black Sea, which is really important, and it's really needed into this area. If we have to make a very quick comparison between the Baltic region and also the Black Sea region, we see that the Black Sea region is more complex. I would not say complicated, because most of the time when you say complicated, there is not much energy to put in it. But when you say complex, it is challenging people to try to see, is it doable, is it workable or not? Anyway, very much appreciate for your input. Thank you for your time and for the valuable input. And we will see at the end on the Q&A session. I would like to funnel it down to the region right now, and I am turning to Mikhailo, who is from Ukraine, and he has quite a lot of experience in this region. And I would like to let him speak and approach the Black Sea, a region in which everything depends on the outcome of the war in Ukraine. I would like also to ask him how does he describe the strategic importance of the Black Sea for Ukraine, and how do you see the role of Crimea in this war and into the freedom and open of the Black Sea? Mikhailo, you have the floor, please.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much for inviting me and having me on such a great event, and absolutely very actual and very important questions. I wouldn't say that I'm ready to talk about the open and free Black Sea, unfortunately, because we have a war. If we don't have a war, if we don't have an occupied Crimea, if we don't have a Russia attacking every day our ports and our infrastructure in Odessa and wider, of course, in areas actually close to the Black Sea and not limited Black Sea. Of course, we have attacks on all of Ukrainian territories. Unfortunately, we started in 1991 build the free and open Black Sea, but Russia didn't support our hopes and didn't support our plans to build real open and comfortable Black Sea for everybody who wants to make business, who wants to have a great ecosystem for developing any possible initiative. You know, since 2014, we don't have a free and open Black Sea anyway, and we have occupied Crimea. And talking about the Crimea and importance for Ukraine, I would say that it's a key element of Ukrainian geopolitics. Even before 2014, even in Ukraine, we didn't understand the importance of Black Sea. Of course, we were talking about the Crimea as a very important element of Ukrainian economy, geography, territory, etc. But now when we started to re-estimate the situation, re-estimate the importance of peninsula, they estimate the Russian plans and Russian ambitions here. We understood that Crimea is not only a key element of Ukrainian geopolitics, but it's a center of gravity of this war. The famous articles of former commander-in-chief of Ukrainian forces, General Zaluzhny, and not only General Zaluzhny understood Crimea as a center of gravity, not only for Ukraine, but for Russia. So if you're talking about the course of this war, and we're talking about comparing importance from military point of view, I'm not talking about the importance for Ukraine, of course, it's impossible to divide, but importance between Donbas and Crimea, I would say that Crimea, the occupation of Crimea will absolutely change the course of war. The occupation of Donbas is very difficult, and you see how difficult for Russia to occupy every meter of Ukrainian territory in Donbas, because it's urban area, it's very difficult to have any offensive operations here. And if we're talking about Crimea, for Russia, of course, it's as I told that it's a natural aircraft carrier. When they put in the middle of the Black Sea the military forces controlling all of the aquatorium, and actually to create the A2AD zone in all of Black Sea. Actually impact and have impact not only on Ukraine, of course, but all of Black Sea countries, and not only Black Sea countries. So unfortunately, I cannot now talking about the free and open Black Sea. Before we have Russia with Navy attacking Ukrainian ports, occupying Crimea, and of course have some plans on hybrid attacks on other countries, as Wilfred told, absolutely clear and crystallized the picture that Russia always will try to attack Black Sea countries and NATO, European Union participation here. If we're talking about the situation and impact on this war, I would give you the some. Do we have a signal? Do we have a? Can you hear me? Oh, it was some interruption, yeah? Right, okay. So I just give you a couple of points on the military important, because if on the Black Sea and Ukrainian strategy on Black Sea, you know that of course the Ukraine before the full scale aggression, obviously and clear, didn't have a proper navy, and it was a great technological breakthrough by Ukrainian engineers and militaries to create a mosquito fleet from drones, and this has changed the everything. I would say that Russia lost the control. I'm sorry. And the sea drones in Ukrainian Navy, and actually our secret services like SBU and GUR, it's a military intelligence, they started to use these drones to push out Russia from the northern part of Black Sea. Now we have a situation when Russia actually cannot based in secure the Black Sea Fleet in Crimea because of Ukrainian attacks, constant and almost everyday attacks with drones and the sea drones and missiles on Russian Black Sea Fleet in Crimea. So I think that now situation looks like that we have a critical point on the next developments in Black Sea. You know that Russia is trying to create more strong the so-called the axis of evil. Now they are trying to join the North Korean troops on the battlefield. And it looks like Russia is trying to use more and more resources on the front line. And I suspect that they will try to create capabilities in Black Sea using the Chinese, North Korea, Iran capabilities, trying to change the situation, because of course for Russia is absolutely not comfortable to be on the situation when they cannot even base their ships in Novorossiysk, and now they trying to build actually the sea drones by own design and own production by industry. We have information about several new products, kind of sea drones. Fortunately, they don't have a success yet, but of course, with such resources like Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran, they earlier or later they will have these capabilities. So, if you're talking about the forecast, what could be next steps in this war? You know, the victory plan of President Zelensky, he announced it openly and publicly yesterday, and today presenting it to the leaders of European Union in Brussels. The main point, of course, it's NATO. It's an invitation for NATO, but in the same time, the military capabilities, including naval capabilities, including capabilities with long-range instruments, with rights to hit the targets on occupied Crimea and occupied Crimea and Russian territory, is a very important element of this victory plan. And I think that now it's a lot of depends on the United States decisions and real support for this period between election in the United States and actually inauguration of a new American president, because Russia obviously will try to do a lot, not only on Donbass, but of course on the Black Sea, trying to change the situation. I could predict that Russia will try to use own sea drones. They try to attack more and more Ukrainian ports. And actually, the last information for September and October, Russia attacked Odessa ports and damaged 6 foreign ships. It's free from Greece. It's a ship from Latvia, Portugal, Poland. So we have, and our analysis showing that Russia will try to scale this, to scale these operations, to create a non-comfortable situation in the Odessa to continue the normal navigation. So if you're talking about the free navigation in Black Sea, the open and free Black Sea, of course, unfortunately, we need to talk about the military means, military capabilities, not only for Ukraine, but of course for Romania, for Bulgaria, and of course participation on the other NATO countries, even in resources part. So I think that NATO could, we talked about it even before full-scale aggression, that NATO could help to Romania and Bulgaria to create proper naval capabilities, to create new capabilities in for example, the ships, the sea drones, of course, the target acquisition, reconnaissance and intelligence. Unfortunately, we don't have a practical steps on it, but I'm sure that it should be, because without proper military capabilities, Russia in Ukraine and allies, Russia will continue to to destroy the any possible architecture, business architecture, energy architecture, transport connectivity architecture in Black Sea. So my conclusion is, and I am ready to answer the questions, that we should be more, let's say, decisive, more or practical on the projects to support the military capabilities of all of our countries in Black Sea. Because without it, unfortunately, we should speak about business, we should speak about investments, but before we provide security here, we cannot talking about the stable investment and stable business atmosphere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mikhailo. Great point with the technological breakthrough with the Mosquito fleet. That was a very important lesson for everybody around the Black Sea and even around the military world, because that one really changed the maritime warfare. And as you mentioned before, that Russia may seek to develop and use more naval drones in the future, and that will be a critical turning point when the warfare in the maritime domain will almost change completely. Appreciate very much your input, Mikhailo, and I'm turning now to Georgia, who is our speaker today. I would not say last, because I will be the last. George now is the man who is speaking for the possible scenario, the man who's looking ahead and who will drive us through some probable, possible scenarios in the future. Georgia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, and I try to show you a few slides. Anna, could you help me, please? Okay. On the left, you can see the situation before the annexation of Crimea, because this war has started in 2014. This is the second part of the war started in 2014. Before the occupation of Crimea, we had in the Black Sea a free and open Black Sea. And after the annexation of Crimea, after the war in Donbass, the security situation has deteriorated. And you can see the situation on way de facto, Romania. We are in the vicinity of Russia on the Black Sea after the occupation of Crimea. And Admiral Panayt explained very well how Russia is acting, spoofing and jamming signal of GPS of vessels, put mines, also using the hybrid activities in the Black Sea. It's important to understand that it's very easy to see that you can see the current situation. Even today, we'll have a frozen conflict. That means that Crimea remains under occupation of Russian Federation, and in this case, Russia will continue to have this aggressive behavior in the Black Sea, because we will not recognize, of course, the annexation of Crimea, but Russia will show us muscles to explain that the waters around Crimea belong to them. And okay, what is important to understand, and now I speak from Romanian perspective, the worst case scenario is not to see the current picture, but to see the next one, okay, the Novorossiya scenario, and to see Russia again on our border on the Danube month. And because many times Putin referred to Novorossiya scenario, this belt of territories on the southern part of Ukrainian littoral. In my opinion, I think that Putin maintains his main objective to destroy Ukraine, but it's impossible to destroy Ukraine if Ukraine remains with the exit to the sea. Putin wants to transform Ukraine in a landlocked country without exit to the sea, to suffocate Ukraine economically, and I think this is main objective for the next period. For this reason, we have to continue to support Ukraine, to not have this picture as part of our reality in the Black Sea. And also the worst case scenario, and to see Russia on the fruit, because most probably they will occupy Republic of Moldova, because Moldova doesn't have army, doesn't have strategic depth. And in this case, Romania will have the largest direct border to Russia, 850 kilometers, after Finland. And this is the worst case scenario for us. And for this reason, it's necessary to support Ukraine to continue not to resist, but to liberate Ukrainian territories. And for us, it's important this picture, and I come back to on the left. Let's make Russia smaller again in the Black Sea. This is our objective, okay? To make Russia smaller again in the Black Sea. Because with Crimea, with this attitude, Russia will have the same aggressive posture. Why it's so important to avoid this scenario? Because in the front of Danube mouth, you have Snake Island. Snake Island was important for the delimitation of continental shelf between Romania and Ukraine. It's a good example of how two sovereign states decide very polite, to solve this issue. And in 2009 was a decision took by International Court of Justice, and you can see in the middle, it's is the blue line, the current delimitation between Romanian EEZ, Economic Exclusive Zone, and Ukrainian Economic Exclusive Zone. And let's imagine what's happening if Russia will occupy again the Snake Island. In this case, they could claim that this delimitation, and it's important to understand that we won this part between yellow line and blue line. It's 9,200 square kilometers with important gas reserves. And we can see also this scenario when Russia will come on the Snake Island, and they could send again vessels like in 2022, in the summer of 2022, when they sent one corvette for 2 weeks around of our platforms. It's necessary to understand the importance of gas reserve in the Black Sea. And you can see the developments on the right, the picture with Sakarya perimeter, the richest perimeter of Turkey, with more than 700 billion cubic meters estimation, with Neptune Deep and Romanian EEZ, and Asparuhan and Bulgarian EEZ. In Romania, we have between 100 and 2,000 BCM, billion cubic meters in Neptune Deep. And Asparuhan has around 100 according to Bulgarian estimation. What is important to understand, and I'll give you a few information, Moldova has 1.2 billion cubic meters domestic consumption without Transnistria, with Transnistria it's 3.2. Bulgaria 2.5, Serbia no more than 3.2. In this case, Romania could be a provider of gas to Balkan countries, to Republic of Moldova, and to undermine the Russian blackmail on energy field in the Black Sea. For this reason, we expect, because we started already to build up our strategic energy infrastructure in the Black Sea, and in 2027, Romania will be the largest gas producer at EU level. We'll have between 8 and 9 billion cubic meters per year for minimum 10, 12 years. And in this case, it's necessary to have in mind that most probably Russia will try to harass us, to block perimeters, to send vessels, and to put pressure on us. Especially, it's necessary to have in mind that economic exclusive zone is not covered by Article 5. And for this reason, it's necessary to have more assets on our shores, ISR capabilities, and other assets to really deter Russians, especially because, according to this situation in the Black Sea, the Turkish straits are closed, and we don't have possibility to see other vessels from other NATO countries in the Black Sea, but we count on our partners and friends from Turkey and you have this demining initiative with Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey, and maybe it's important to expand the objectives of this initiative to protect critical infrastructure. On the other hand, as Admiral mentioned, we have a very good programs to enhance our defense and deterrence capabilities, but also we count on our partners to receive deliveries on time, because we have huge problems. We understand that American industry, European industry are under huge pressure because they have to deliver to Ukraine, to Taiwan, to Israel, but in the same time they have to respect the contracts, and especially because Romania also has a very critical position in this security situation around us. Okay, many people, especially in Washington, consider that it's so easy to have a ceasefire and to have a peace agreement with Russia. Please don't make the same mistake like Prime Minister Chamberlain in 1938 with Chancellor Hitler. Because if you not give Ukrainian real security guarantees, and the real one is the NATO membership for the territories under the Ukrainians' control, this war will come back in 2-3 years. And in this case, this picture with Russians on our border will be the reality for our next seminar in 2-3 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. George, very challenging, your last remarks, and very true in the same way. I would like just to add one more aspect. I do not want to let you understand that this possible future is only Romanian-centric. Obviously, the worst-case scenario is for the full Ukraine to be taken over or controlled by the Russians. But for obvious reason, we have seen that in almost 3 years of war, they were not able to do that. So that's why we came up with this possible scenario of Russia, that if it will happen, that will be the nightmare, as Georgia mentioned, the nightmare for Romania, because the border with Russia will be big. We will have the Danube Delta, which is a critical area to be defended, and there is also the Black Sea with all gamut of problems that we may have, including here the energy, the trade, connectivity, and so on. So it is important to keep half of the brain concentrated on the future and think outside the box how we can coagulate more the energy in this area to counter the Russian aggressiveness, in the same time using the other part of the brain on the current situation and take the valid solution to support Ukraine and to go further with them. With this, we close the first part with the panelists. I would like now to open the floor for the audience for a Q&A session. If you have any questions, please push the button, briefly introduce yourself, and shoot the question, please.
I don't know if we can see each other. Okay. Carmen Râșnoveanu, I'm the director of Institute of Military History of the Ministry of National Defense. Obviously it's a very interesting discussion, and keeping the Black Sea free and open, it's obvious a topic which deserves a lot of attention and focus. We even were discussing about even a project, international project focused on exactly on this topic. But it's obvious from what I learned from the speakers that there are a lot of challenges in keeping a Black Sea safe and open. Sometimes may be more, let's say, or how to say, more than the regional Black Sea countries can do by themselves. So my question is the following. How do you assess or evaluate the level of urgency of the Black Sea issue on the international agenda, looking at NATO and the EU? If you can say a few, or make a small assessment about the level of urgency of the Black Sea on the international agenda. Because I know there are discussions about the Black Sea strategy in the United States, but as far as I know, there are not too many developments or further improvements on that. We have documents, but not practical measures implemented. I know that there are discussions at the EU level, but even before there were many discussions, but we didn't have practical results. And I think that it's important also to see more involvement at international level in supporting the efforts of the Black Sea countries. And the second aspect, and I'll end here, it was mentioned, I think that Professor Coliboșanu and Tonia mentioned about China and the need, or of engaging China more. If you can develop a little bit on that, in which way can we engage more China? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who wants to take over the answer? Yes.
You have one positive aspect and one negative aspect. Positive aspect that indeed EU, US are better focusing to the region. They start to prepare strategies. Germany also has this intention. France already has a strategy. They have also a special envoy for the Black Sea and Eastern Partnership, Ambassador Michel Roux. The negative aspect, our fear to not provoke Russia in the Black Sea. What's happened when Russia shut down an American MQ Reaper drone in March 23? Nothing. What's happened when Russia almost shut down a Polish aircraft part of Frontex mission over the Black Sea? The next day, EU Commission decided to stop all missions over the Black Sea of Frontex. We don't want to provoke Russia. Even each day Russia is provoking us, pushing us and trying to check our limits, including in our airspace. You remember the incident when 3 weeks ago, Russian Shahed drones flew 23 minutes in our airspace and after hit Odessa. I think it's necessary to change the approach and not to be scared to shut down a Russian drone over the Black Sea, because Russia will repeat this attitude, pushing us further and further. And on the other hand, I understand the Turkish attitude, but I think, and their interpretation of the Montreux Convention, but I think that it's necessary to have in mind what's happened after. And to have an open and free Black Sea means, first of all, to have also NATO presence from outside the country, outside the region, for outside the Black Sea, when the war is over, and also to try to use, because you have two gates in the Black Sea. You have Danube and Turkish Straits. And I think, as Wilfried mentioned and Admiral Panayit mentioned, it's necessary to engage more this second gate. And it's necessary to think out of the box. And I give you an example. It's not necessary to repeat, because it's different situation, different time. But it's a good example what it means to think out of the box. In 1943, Germany disassembled 6 submarines, moved these submarines through the Danube, reassembled of Galat shipyard, and they used for 1.5 years against Soviet fleet during the Second World War. This is an example what it means to think out of the box, including to use Danube, to have some assets in the Black Sea. Will not change the balance in naval terms in the Black Sea, but it's necessary to show the flag and also to show our political commitment and to show Russians that the Black Sea is not a Russian lake. Thank you.
Okay. Besides using Danube for what George has said, I would add that we also need to build those alternative routes that Wilfried was pointing at. And yes, I agree, the middle corridor cannot take on everything. We do need the northern corridor. So coming back to engagement, the war will be over, and we will need to engage both Russia and China. Engaging means negotiations, and engaging them means knowing our national interests and our union interests, if we are talking about the European Union. With regards to China, we have distinct language for how we see China at the NATO level and the geoeconomic aspect of things. The new strategic concept has China mentioned in there. We also have the EU language that points to China in a sort of ambivalent nuance. But bottom line, I think that latest events have shown us that China is a competitor, and not only on the economic side. So de-risking at the level where we are safe from a security point of view, while negotiating our positions in the Black Sea area in particular with regards to logistics and routes, so that we are not captured by China or Russia. So we have lived in a time in between the Cold War and until 2014, in a time where we thought that Russia could become a friend, and that we hoped for a reset. We also have built up dependencies that were not very much useful, and that came detrimental for the European Union in particular, and for some countries in particular, Germany being one of them. We are now seeing ourselves also weakened by the fact that we have outsourced probably a bit too much from our own security needs, because we did think that globalization is actually the solution for building those economies of scales and having countries come together and building a peaceful future for our children. And since 2014, we are in a reset mode in the Black Sea in particular, where we have the reality of that future needing to be built on clear negotiations pattern, using the economic diplomacy and using security elements to build that future for our children safe. So that's how I envisage that engagement, knowing our interests.
Thank you very much, Antonia. I've been informed by my colleague that the two we have now online would like also to participate in providing an answer. So, Mihailo, you will be the first, and Wilfried, who will be the next in line for the answer. Please, you have the floor, Mihailo.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to say a couple of words about the urgency for the global agenda. I like how the General Hodges explaining the importance of Black Sea when he asking somebody who is asking to put the Black Sea on the middle of the map, not kind of how we see that the Black Sea always somewhere on the down of the map, but the middle of the map. Exactly like this, Russia looking at on the Black Sea. And if you remember the Crimean War, so-called Crimean War from the 19th century, exactly Russia still have the same geopolitics, looking at the Black Sea as a gate to Balkans, to the Middle East, and to the Mediterranean, and actually to wider area of the interest. So if we're talking about the Black Sea, we should understand if we just look at the like a close aquatorium, which is doesn't have any impact on the economy on global development, it's wrong. Russia looking at absolutely different, and we should look the same way. So the urgency for Black Sea strategy for United States, for NATO, for European Union is absolutely important. And we are talking about it for years, but unfortunately, absolutely right, we don't have the strong strategy, strong concept how to deal for NATO, how to deal for European Union together with Ukraine, which is, I hope, will be inside of this organization, but still out, to create a proper, practical strategy how to stop Russia from the destroying our comfortable Black Sea and creating just gate for geopolitics and interest of Russia. Thank you.
Okay, you have the floor, Wilfried.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, Mihailo. I mean, what you said was actually on my agenda now, because I think we have to really understand that Black Sea matters for a wider imperial design of Russia, which is connecting the Caspian Central Asian region to the Middle East. And we should not forget that Russia also has very targeted interests in the port of Africa. So the outreach and the projection, not to speak about the fact that in the Syrian war, the Black Sea Fleet also was one of the logistic lifelines of Russia, is a very concrete threat for NATO. And we should understand that Crimea is the southern Kaliningrad in the strategic planning of the Russian Federation. So Russia will, of course, try to overstretch the capacities of NATO on different points, and Kaliningrad, the region, and the Crimea can be in future such points if we would not try to contain Russia now. And the second point I would like to underline is, Mihailo, you touched it already, but I will also put it in the current context of the negotiations about the victory plan. I mean, what we should do now is to negotiate with Ukraine on equal terms and in a permanent format the strategic aims on the ground, which are crucial at first. So we should have a minimal projection, what we can invest still in the war. And that means for me, by all means, stabilization of the East and Northeast, and trying to get more territory back, or let me say, to bring Ukraine in successful positions in the lower south in order to take control on the eastern coastal regions, because otherwise Ukraine won't be able even to negotiate these territories. Russia in the 20th and 21st centuries never went out of territories which it has illegally occupied, only under heavy pressure, or if the regime collapsed. Russia was willing to give up illegally. I do not speak about the international recognized territory of Russian Federation. I speak about illegally territories of Russia they have occupied. And the third point also about the international urgency. I mean, it is, I also had already discussions with Danube organization and other organizations. If we want to reconstruct and modernize and to at least have a sustainable Ukraine economy in the south, we will need a secure Danube Black Sea region. That is crucial. And we need very urgently, because I mean, the problem is any war is very unpredictable. The unpredictable is the main important thing in a war. Maybe we are already starting to have to start to cope with the challenge in 2 years or in 1.5 years, because there are also weaknesses on the Russian side. We do not know now. And we are at the moment not prepared to bring the equipment to Ukraine in a properly way. We need to have matching studies, how multimodal transport routes can be established in the Danube Black Sea region with connectivity to the European Union important economic regions. And that has to be done even now, because if Ukraine next year can make progress on the field, and that is already the case in other regions, we have already to start to reconstruct and to prepare for a Ukraine where people can live normally. So we cannot wait with that. And the same is true for the mechanisms how to protect the sea routes. I mean, that was only an example what I made. Yes, to have maybe a combined maritime fleet which can be present on certain periods on rotation basis, but I think we have to think about that. We have to connect. We have to find out a core group of mind-willing states, like the littoral states, together with Great Britain, Norway, Germany also should be here. And then we have to go forward, and we cannot lay to the Americans. Excuse me, we cannot wait. What will be the vision of Mr. Trump or Mrs. Harris on the Black Sea regions? Excuse me. And we should not repeat. I mean, that is our sea. We have to make our homework in our Black Sea, and we have to give the space for the Americans to come to terms with the South Chinese Sea challenges. We need a burden sharing, and we need to start with it, and not only to speak about that. And the best to begin with is the Black Sea, to really begin with burden sharing between the European pillar and the transatlantic pillar of NATO now. Thank you.
We have only one question left. Paul, if you want to shut it, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise the fact that there are already solutions which been in the joint report by New Strategy Center done from Turkey and Sofia Security Forum, which last year was presented at the NATO headquarters. There it was a conversation about building for the 3 NATO countries the A280, which is required in the Black Sea, to improve the anti-submarine capabilities, including with unmanned surface capabilities, and to strengthen the cooperation between the 3 countries in their exclusive economic zone, critical for their energy infrastructure, as was mentioned here. So the solutions are there, and I fully support what Wilfried was mentioning. We need also our allies in Europe to do the best. If we manage to put these things in place, of course these are only military solutions, then we can improve the security and have an impact on the infrastructure in the area, economic development, commerce, whatever we want. But first, we need to make Black Sea secure and to deter and be ready to defend against Russia. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Please, we have another intervention.
Thank you so much, and such a pleasure to be here. I'm Victoria Vdovichenko, Center for Defense Studies, but also Center for Geopolitics, which is Kyiv/Cambridge in my case. And I'm actually from the city that Wilfred mentioned. I'm from Vinnytsia, so definitely when we are talking about how innovative Ukrainian cities might be, we opened industrial hubs and IT hub just the last month. So we are definitely one of the logistical hubs, not only since 2022, but we used the potential even before that, since 2014, in order to develop ourselves in a nutshell. My question actually, to continue to what George was mentioning, is thinking out of the box and creatively in a nutshell, that we don't have still the strategies for the EU within the Black Sea and of course the US, but still it's been, we know that we cannot rely on the strategies, but potentially how we can connect the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, I think might be one of very nice solutions, because we have much more of the actors there, like Italy and France, Spain, who have a lot of maritime capabilities. Potentially you can comment on that, what will be, if we can pitch that also to the countries there, because we are normally thinking about Germany and UK for some reason, mostly, and we know with Germany it's not going for a moment as we should be. With the UK we definitely have a position. With Italy it's interesting because Italian economically is very much interested in boosting the potential with Romania and Bulgaria. And being it all in the maritime presence also potentially, I mean, as thinking of the out of the box, why not? And I'm literally missing that this discussion today is not being heard today in Brussels by both the EU and NATO military leaders, and specifically political leaders, because that's what they should be discussing. Thank you.
Excellent, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Mihai, would you like to add some comments, please?
Yes, I would like to present the Romanian Navy point of view in order to keep this kind of balance in the Black Sea region. From our point of view, it's necessary, it's almost mandatory to build our fleet, to modernize our fleet, to develop the unmanned system in the all domains, speaking about the surface, air and subsurface is so important. It's very important to have not only the recognized maritime picture, because we have this kind of recognized maritime picture. We are working very good. We have this kind of mock maritime operational centers connectivity with the Sixth Fleet and with the MARCOM from NATO. And it's so important, but it's important to develop the joint recognized picture in this area. It's important at the same time to develop our cooperation with the all partners under the NATO and the European Union. And speaking about the question from Mrs. Râșnoveanu, from my point of view, it's not enough to have only the European Union or NATO or United States Black Sea strategy. It's important for us to build our Black Sea security strategy. And we are working, we like a Navy, we are working in order to put this kind of instrument on the table for all decisions makers. This is the most important in order to develop this kind of bridges, because of the end of the day, it's about the leadership, and it's so important for us to keep the battery in this very important area, and to keep the all forces, not only from the Navy, the all forces from the all domains in this area in a very good shape. Thank you so much, General.
Very welcome. We are so much out of the time frame, so I think we are closing to the end of this panel. Let me just mention 2 points here. First, we are so much interrelated globally. And whatever happened in one region reverberates in other regions. So whatever is happening in Baltic or even in China, South China Sea or in some other regions reverberates also in our region. And whatever is happening here reverberates first with all of us here and also in the other side. So that's why we are still considering that keeping an open and free Black Sea should be also on the agenda of the other institution and other countries. So our obviously wish is to have it strongly implemented into the NATO and EU strategy, as well as in different other country national strategies. And for that one, I just want to emphasize again that the connectivity, the trade, the security, and all the other aspects like energy, for example, which was mentioned before, are so important for our next portion of the future that we cannot neglect it and we cannot stay behind the curtain and not finding a decision. Again, thinking outside the box involve more creativity in order to find solutions, or maybe new solution or original solution to keep the Black Sea open and free. So I would like first to thank all my panelists today for all their excellent remarks, and also for the audience for your kind passions to hear us, and also for the interest to address questions, or even after, whatever comments you would like to. So thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Thank you.